Welcome back, everybody, to Leonie's Kitchen. I know that a lot of you are following what Leonie's doing and making her recipes, which is absolutely brilliant. I did one of my own. I promised I would. So Leonie sent me some stevia and I made the chocolate mousse. I did that on Saturday. And I have to say, it is delicious. I mean, really, really lovely. It's quite rich. It feels very satisfying when you've eaten it. And it looks good too. It really does look like chocolate mousse. So quite an interesting combination there of flavors and textures, but it really works. So thank you, Leonie. That's one that I'll add to my repertoire, my slowly expanding repertoire of food.
Or 5 recipes or 6. How many have we done together?
Well, I made this chicken curry again tonight.
Oh, great. Wonderful. Thank you.
I'm very into my coconut milk now and various other things. So today we're looking at apple and oat muffins. So these can be eaten for breakfast or a snack or a lunch box addition or even a pudding, Leonie says. And then we're going to, she's going to show us a chicken and leek crumble, but not a crumble as you and I think of it. So over to you, Leonie.
Thank you, Tricia. Well, welcome back in the Eatwright kitchen. Also, welcome to your viewers. I've had lots of responses and questions, especially about the chocolate mousse. It was a great hit, so I'm really pleased that you have made it as well. And the red pepper soup seems to be following like, well, a top recipe, I think. But today we're going to make a quick chicken and leek crumble and the oat muffins, apple and oat muffins. As Tricia said, the crumble normally when we have a crumble or a pie or a chicken and leek pie, we put potatoes on the top. But today I'm going to show you another topping, which is as delicious and more nutritious for you. So the ingredients are, you can either use 1 very large leek or 2 thin ones. Now the leek have been a very underrated vegetables, and actually it's one of the vegetables that is used a lot by top chefs. And that is because it makes a lot of dishes very sweet. And also it is a bit softer on the gut than onions are. Onions can often cause fluctuation, but leeks don't. And did you, for example, know that a leek, when it grows in the earth, up till here, which is the bit where it becomes green, it is in the ground and it's called roots over here. And if you cut the leek off by a centimeter or so, you can put the roots back into a pot and it will grow up to a leek again. So it's a very rewarding vegetable. It grows in the summer and in the winter, so mostly the whole year round. But if it doesn't, there are just a couple of months it comes from Spain. And the good thing about leek is it is a family of the alliums, like the onions, spring onions and garlic, which are known to be high in fiber, high in vitamin C, which we definitely need at this time to protect us from the coronavirus, and also very good for your heart and your veins. So it's a very good vegetables to have. So I'm using 2 small ones today. Then I have some chicken fillet from a breast, which I've cut in little pieces. I'm using red pepper as well, which I've cut up, full of vitamin C, as we know from the red pepper soup. Then I'm using mushrooms. I've cut them up as well already. And I'm using as a topping, and that might be of interest to you, gluten-free oats. I'm using nuts. And then I am using some cheese, and I bought this time Manchego cheese so that it is also suitable for you. It's very tasty cheese, I love it. And I use some crème fraiche in the sauce. I won't hold that up because it will slide out of the little cup, and extra virgin olive oil. So they are the ingredients. The ladies who have the recipes, it's on page number 60 of your recipe book, but I also know that you'll put the recipes under the YouTube video. So I know that you eat quite a lot of chicken and salmon, Tricia, so hopefully this will be one that will be added to your range as well. Have you ever made pies? Do you make pies living on your own? Maybe not, I don't know.
Not at all, no.
No, okay. So this one actually, the recipe is for 2 people. So you can have it one day and then maybe keep it in the fridge for a couple of days and then have it again another day. Right, so I'm going to turn my hob on. I'll start by cooking the chicken. So I'm going to turn you around, to turn you to my hob so you can see. And right, there we go. I think that is a good vision there. So I'll just put some extra virgin olive oil in. I would say about a tablespoon, not too much, but you can never have too much of a good thing because extra virgin olive oil is very good for you. And I'll start with frying of the chicken, and I called it a quick chicken because it is very quick. Right, I'm now going to add the pepper. I've just added it. So while that is cooking, I'm going to cut up the leeks and the nuts because that's part of the topping. So I've got 2 leeks here. Now I used to throw this bit of the leek, the green bit, away, but not anymore. I'll save everything into the dish because it's full of vitamins and I don't really want to throw them away. You can use them in a stir fry, but with this dish, you can use them actually completely as a whole. And I'll show you how I do that. So I'm going to cut it in sort of 1 centimeter slices, not too wide, because otherwise it takes a bit longer to cook. You can also use a large one, as I said before. Just put them in a bowl, because that's handier for a minute. Well, excellent. And you can smell the leeks always. Do you cook a lot with leeks, Tricia?
So I do. I buy them when I'm in France quite often, but
Do you?
Yeah, so they'll be quite locally grown, I think, there. Tell us the tip again about getting the dirt out.
You're just in time. What I do is, if I have a whole leek like this, I cut the leek in half, like I've done here, and then I put it under the tap, just like that, and rinse out all the dirt. And then the bottom bit, as I showed before, is in the earth, so that tends to be clean. It's the leaf where the dirt and the rubbish is in. So if you cut it half, it's actually a Jamie Oliver tip, and it's so easy because you don't get the whole leek wet as well. So it stops the dish from getting too wet. So what I do is then I take the outer leaves off, and I'll keep them for a stir fry or another dish that I use it with. But these leeks are not too hard. And because the dish is cooking in the oven for about 20 minutes, it will all get soft, so it's not a problem. And then I keep taking the dark leaves out and holding them back. There's another one, don't want that one in. But the inside of the leek is always very soft. And if you combine leek with salty things like feta cheese or olives, it actually enhances the taste, which is an interesting fact. I didn't know about that, but I read about the leeks before. So, right, so that's the leeks cut. The next thing I'm doing is cutting up the nuts. Do you eat nuts at all, Tricia?
Yes, I do.
Yeah.
I tend to eat them in with granola-y type things.
Okay, and what kind of nuts do you eat? Anything, or have you got a preference?
I like, let me think, I like almonds, I like Brazil nuts, I like, what else do I like? I like walnuts, pecans, those kind of things really. I mean, I do like cashews and peanuts, but more with a drink or something, before a drink. But if I'm eating it as part of a meal, I think I tend towards those nuts I've just mentioned.
It's interesting you say the 5 nuts that I recommend. I'll just talk to you for a minute to the camera. There are 5 nuts that I recommend, and the 4 you mentioned are all in there. So it was Brazil nuts, almonds, pecan nuts, and walnuts. The other one, which is very beneficial for you, is hazelnuts, because nuts are a great antioxidant, and also they help actually with weight loss because they make you full quite a bit and helps to lower your cholesterol, which is quite interesting because a lot of people suffer from high cholesterol. Nuts, peanuts are not nuts. they are legume actually, and they grow under the ground. So I wouldn't recommend those. Maybe occasionally, as you said, with a drink. Cashew nuts are also very popular, but cashew nuts have a high glycemic index, so they raise your blood sugar level quicker than the nuts we have just mentioned. What is a really nice nut is also macadamia nut, but macadamia is very, very fat, so you have to be very careful with that. Right, so my leeks are cut, so I'm going to add them to my dish that's been cooking away. And I'll fry this for a couple of minutes. And then finally, here goes the mushrooms. I've cut them beforehand. We talked last time about how to prepare them. Of course, we now the ladies that have been watching will all be cleaning their mushrooms with a kitchen paper rather than washing them under water. I hope they've taken that tip on board. So we give this a bit of a stir. Just a couple of minutes. Make sure that it's all well mixed. Mushrooms have got medicinal purposes. I didn't know if you knew that, Tricia. But mushrooms are very low in calories and a very good source of fiber and protein again. So, and in Chinese medicine, they are used a lot. Not this type of mushroom that I'm frying here. While this is cooking, I'm just turning on the oven on 200 degrees centigrade, because this ultimately goes into the oven. And you can see the lovely colors already, the green and the red and the white and the brown. Now to make the sauce a bit more liquid, I've got some crème fraiche here, but you can also use low-fat soft cheese if you want. I prefer crème fraiche because it's slightly lower and it gives the dish a bit of a fresher taste. Becomes now a kind of sauce consistency. Now in real time, I would cook this a little bit longer, to be fair, but for the purposes of the video, I'm going to put this now in an oven dish. So I'm going to turn it. I've got a pie dish here, which I will fill up with a mixture. We have it, so we spread this out. And now comes the trick. We've cut up the nuts just a minute ago. But the first thing I'm going to sprinkle over this dish are oats. Again, the oats are again a really good form of fiber. And also helps to lower your cholesterol. I always use the gluten-free. Do you eat oats, Tricia?
Not really, not in that form, no, because I don't like porridge. So
okay. Okay, yeah. So now I put on a little bit of the cheese and then the nuts. And I try to just sort of divide them over the dish. So this makes a lovely topping, and it's just a little bit different from a normal one. The more cheese. And I would put this in the oven for about 20 minutes. So I've turned the oven on, so I'm going to put it in now. And I'm sure that you would like to see the end result. After 20 minutes, it will look like this. So this is a dish for 2 people. It's a slightly different pie dish, but I don't have two of the same. And I would serve it with green beans, or you could have it with some pasta if you like, some broccoli, whatever you fancy. So this would be a whole dinner for one person.
Gosh, yes, that looks delicious.
It is actually very delicious, I must say. It's one of my favorites in the recipe book, and it's one that I came up with myself. So after lots of trial and errors. Okay, I'm ready. Right, it's now time for the apple and oat muffins. Do you like muffins, Tricia?
Yeah, I mean, I don't buy them, you know, the sort of muffins that you see in the shops, because I know that they are hugely, because they're so big, they're packed with sugar and tend to be very high calorie, and people will grab one for breakfast and think, oh, that's a good healthy breakfast, you know, and they've sort of got 700 or 800. I know you don't like calories, but for me, something that's got 600, 700, 800 calories in, and you're just eating it as almost like a snack at breakfast. It's the problem that a lot of food has. It's packed with you know, high calorie value, but very little nutritional value relatively. So I avoid muffins is the answer.
Yeah, I agree. Well, hopefully you will find time to make this one sometime. I don't know. You need to get your muffin tray first. I don't know if you've got one yet.
Not yet, because Lakeland is still shut, but when the non-essential shops open again, which I think is sometime in April, then I might pop down to Lakeland and equip myself with some all sorts of things that I think, watching you, I need, like a few knives.
Really? You don't have sharp knives at home?
I've got about 3 or 4, which you would call they're really they're small vegetable knives. I haven't got any big knives at all.
I must say that when I cook and when I do my cooking, the big knife is the knife that I use the most. And also the sort of plastic muffin trays. They're so versatile because you can do so much with it. And I find it ideal to put things in a muffin tray rather than in a cake form, because you can freeze it easier. And you can just take one out. Otherwise, you need to cut it up and put it in. I mean, you can do that as well. But that's just, a tip maybe, that muffins are really easy. So I would definitely recommend you get one as soon as the shops open. So the apple and oat muffins, for that I have used some almond milk, unsweetened almond milk. I'm using a pinch of salt. I'm using stevia to make it sweeter. I have vanilla essence, very nice. It also makes it sweet, as does cinnamon. A really good spice to regulate your blood sugar levels. I love cinnamon. Coming from Holland, we have it with our apple pies. Again, I'm going to use oats, gluten-free ones. You can use buckwheat flakes if you have them as well. One of your troopers had buckwheat flakes, and you can definitely use that. Chia seed, a really good form of protein, and also very important to bind dishes. I'm going to use an apple, and I used a Granny Smith, and particularly a Granny Smith because it's not such a sweet apple. What's your favorite apple, Tricia?
Well, I do tend to go for the really sweet ones.
Right.
I quite like Pink Lady, which are very, I like really crisp apples.
Yeah.
I can't bear them if they're a bit soggy and doughy.
No.
So if I eat an apple, I like it to be very, very crisp, and I do quite like those. I quite like Granny Smiths actually.
Granny Smith, and then there's the Braeburn as well. There might be It's an interesting story about apples. My dad, who is now 90, when he was young, he thought suddenly at the age of 18 or 19 that he was too big, and he started on an apple diet, and he would eat apples for, I think he did for about 3 weeks. And to lose weight, and he did lose a lot of weight because an apple is very high in fiber and water, and it actually promotes weight loss, but it's also good for your heart, and it also lowers the risk for people who suffer from type 2 diabetes. He's still eating apples. I thought, well, after 3 weeks of apple eating, he might be fed up with it, but he's not. So I'm using the Granny Smith, and then I have the nuts that we have just mentioned. I've already cut them up for you. So I will start with putting the almond oil on the hob. So I'm going to turn you around again, and we'll see. I'll show you how I do that.
Did you say almond oil, or was it almond milk?
Almond milk that I'm using. I use a specifically organic almond milk because I know that the almonds are grown in areas that are protected, because almonds need bees to fly around and to pollinate. And most of the almonds are grown in America, and by put pesticides on the almond trees, they actually kill off the bees. So I make a really strong point of buying unsweetened organic almond milk. You can use hazelnut milk if you like, or oat milk, even normal milk, but I'm not such a fan of dairy. I'll try to avoid it as much as I can. So, right, so I put the cooker on. Right, so I'm going to put this on a medium heat, and the first thing that I'm going to put in is cinnamon. I have some my vanilla essence. Vanilla essence, actually, some of them are full of sugar or have sugar in them, but there are vanilla essences that don't have sugar in there. So I would recommend you look out for one which doesn't contain sugar. So put that in. To replace the sugar in this dish, I'm using stevia and just 1/4 teaspoon. So put that in there as well. Then an egg. I'm going to crack that open and put that in there. And then I'm going to give this a bit of a stir with my whisk. So just like that. When you make dishes like that, I always find it such a shame that you can't smell it, because I smell already the cinnamon in this dish. It's fantastic.
I think we underestimate how important smell is for our enjoyment of food. I know that quite a lot of people, when they've had COVID, or they've even recovered from COVID, they lose their sense of smell and sense of taste, and it's really quite devastating, because food doesn't taste of anything, and the fact that you can't smell it adds to that sense of deprivation, I think.
Tricia, when in March last year, I had suddenly a week that I was like, oh, I can't smell anything and taste anything. It was before they knew that it was one of the signs of COVID. And yeah. I had it for 4 weeks. And it's not only, you just don't feel hungry, because you think, well, what's the point? Why do I eat? I can't taste anything. I can't smell anything. And all the enjoyment is just out of it.
Yeah. I think we just take it for granted so much, our sense of taste and smell, and losing it, as you say, for a lot of people has been a real shock. That
it is, yeah.
A lot of enjoyment in life has gone with the loss of taste and smell.
Yeah, it's the eyes, it's the taste, it's the smell that makes food appetizing. So I brought this to the boil. I'm now going to add the oats and the chia seeds. And then again, I'll bring it to the boil. You will see that this becomes a thicker consistency now. Turn it up a bit, so it becomes a bit of a sauce.
Yeah.
You can see it bubbling away, and I cook it for well, very 30 seconds or so, and keep stirring it. Right, so that to my opinion is thick enough. So I'm turning off the heat now and putting in the apples, which I've cut up in little bits beforehand, hence they're a little bit brown. I forgot to put some lemon on it. Sometimes that prevents it from turning brown. And my cut up nuts. So I mix them all together. Give it again a good stir. And this will make about 6 muffins. The only thing is with the whisk, the apple sticks in between. Anyhow, so here we are. So that's my mixture. There's my muffin tray. I didn't need to put any oil on it because I always rinse my trays with hot boiling water, which prevents them from, so that means that in future dishes, you don't need to oil it or put any fat or butter in it. So that's quite good. So what I do then is in each hole, I put about, well, a large tablespoon. So instead of making a dough with flour, the consistency is made up of the oats and the chia seeds.
Yeah.
It's low in sugar. It's very full of fiber with the oats, helps your cholesterol, is good with your heart. It's just a fantastic recipe. And you can serve this with some yogurt. You can serve it with crème fraiche if you like. Cottage cheese if you want to be a little bit more healthy. There we have it. So it's a very quick dish, very easy to make. So this now goes in the oven for about 20 to 25 minutes till they're cooked. Let me do that. Some before, and this is the entrance.
Gosh, lovely. Yeah.
You see, they're absolutely fantastic. They're nice and healthy, and they really will fill you up. Okay, so that are today's recipes: a healthy apple and oat muffin, and a lovely chicken crumble with a different topping. I forgot to say with the crumble, actually, if you want, you can put the same crumble on top of apples. So if you make an apple crumble, of course you wouldn't put the cheese on because that doesn't go with apple, although sometimes it does. I have a, well, okay, that's another story. Don't go away from it. So what I would do is I would put the mix of oats and nuts, and then I would put a little bit of butter on the top. So you mix that up and you use that as an apple crumble, which is really, really delicious and very crunchy. So if you like crunchy food, it's delicious.
That sounds like a really good idea. So you're not putting any fat in that, are you?
No,
keeping
no. You put a little bit of little bits of grass-fed butter on the top, just to melt out, but you don't need to if you don't want to, if you really want to avoid it. The cinnamon makes it sweet, again with stevia, but it's in one of my older recipe books, not in my new one.
Okay, all right, so that's all really, really good hints and tips. And I think next week we're going to look at ratatouille with beef mince, which is exciting. And I'm particularly keen that you make the, is it chocolate and banana ice cream?
That's it, yes, yeah.
I really love that idea. I used to eat a lot of ice cream. I don't anymore, but I think probably the way that you make it, it'll be possible for me to eat that ice cream. So yeah, it would be
I am endeavoring to make food that people love, but have a healthy emphasis on them. So like the chocolate mousse you made, as you said, it might be, it's very healthy. It gets you omega-3, the avocado. It's just a different way of eating, but as tasty as normal food. Well, normal food, it's all normal food, but
and you and I were talking because I was telling Susie about this. Now she's got 3 girls, and they're aged 4, and then India, who is 9. But India finds it very difficult to chew food, but she loves chocolate mousse, and this would be a brilliant way to get avocado, banana, those good things into their diet, but in a way that they will immediately say, oh yes, I want to eat that, because it's it looks like chocolate mousse and it's got chocolate in it, and it's very tasty. So I think for anybody watching who's got grandchildren, you perhaps want to make tempting dishes for them, but know that they're getting really good nutrition and something that is basically healthy, then it's a good alternative to the other stuff that we give the children. So thank you so much.
And the chocolate banana ice cream is in that same Leek. Also, it is very appetizing for children. It's maybe still a little bit too cold, but I think it's never too cold for ice cream. I love ice cream.
Absolutely, and actually, I think the weather forecast is quite good, so it's getting a lot warmer. And so I think ice cream for next week should be a little celebration for the coming better weather. All
Absolutely.
Right. Thank you so much. I shall look forward to seeing you next week, and thank you.
Okay, it's a pleasure. It's a pleasure. Thank you.
Brilliant. Thanks a lot.